Hello, everyone. This is A Bit of Business. My name is John FitzGerald, and on behalf of LearMedia.tv and the British and Irish Trading Alliance, welcome to the show. Sustainability, social value, mission and purpose, all terms we hear very frequently these days in relation to the world of business, with many companies now starting to at least talk the talk when it comes to these topics. Are we seeing a sea change in how companies want to do business and operate? And what does it look like when a company really does start to operate with a genuine purpose, where adding social value and having an impact on society becomes the driving force within a business? Well, our guests today, Loughlin, Hickey and Graham Precey, will help answer these and other related questions. Loughlin Hickey is a founding trustee of Blueprint for Better Business. Blueprint is a charity that exists to help businesses be inspired and guided by a purpose that serves society. And Loughlin helps businesses develop a way to use the blueprint thinking to develop their own path to become a purpose-led business. He also represents Blueprint in presenting a more human-centric view of business to business school students. In addition, Loughlin is an advisory panel member on the Cabinet Office Mission-Led Business Review Report on making business work for all, and is a contributor to the Purposeful Company project run by the Big Innovation Centre. Up till 2011, Loughlin had a long and successful career with KPMG and was their global head of tax and a member of the global executive team prior to his departure. Graham Precey is a former head of sustainability at Legal & General and has a track record of helping PLCs and not-for-profit organizations apply the principles of social, environmental, and economic value to their business. He is now involved at board level in a number of organizations, all looking to positively impact the world and improve lives, including Virtual Doctors, the Foundation for Social Improvement, New Haven Regeneration Group, Normandy Development Group, and Goscom Homes. Graham is based in Normandy in France at startup incubator Normandy Ecospace, where he has been part of the team to deliver collaborations between France and the UK on startup cruises for entrepreneurs. So that's it, folks. With multiple face-to-face BIT events coming up in the next couple of months, please do visit the BITA website, bita.ie, for all the details. Loughlin and Graham coming up next. Please do stay tuned. And gentlemen, welcome to A Bit of Business, and let's jump right in. Graham, I'm going to start with you on the first question and then over to you, Loughlin, for your perspective. So, Graham, is the emergence of purpose in business and the desire to add social value that we've seen over the last 5 to 10 years, I guess, a genuine shift in how businesses want to operate? Or is it simply a ramping up of some of the corporate PR rhetoric that is sometimes used to curry favor with shareholders or regulators or media outlets, for example? What are your thoughts?
Oh, that's a great question. Purpose is more important than ever in business. The ability to articulate that, and it's really simple. How do you serve human beings in the way you do business? And you know, you talk about 10 years. Well, let's talk about the past 6 months, right? Where health has gone head to head with economics. You know, do we unlock an economy or do we save lives? And never more have we been in the situation where purpose, the ability for organizations to say, this is how we make people's lives better, so I think COVID has, and the whole situation has forced business that aren't thinking about purpose to go, when all the rules around their business have fallen apart. Their ability to work from offices, their ability to do the things they just assumed they could do, their ability to cannot buy anything anymore, right? In reality, you cannot get vaccines into the right place anymore. However much money you've got, it cannot be done yet. And so we've been through this amazing shift, and out of the other side are people want to know how is what you do as a business going to make people's lives better. And I think there's a people bit, but there's an environmental bit too. I think I've seen some great cartoon imagery of, the first wave being COVID that's impacting people's lives, and behind it is climate change. And there's no doubt that we've got to work together on the climate agenda after we've worked out how businesses can make people's lives better in the short term.
Loughlin, your thoughts on that question?
Well, I can just give my own sort of experience where in 2012, we formed the organization, which I'm the founding trustee, is called Blueprint for Better Business. And we talked about the whole idea of purpose. And that was in 2012 with at a conference we launched just to test the idea. And at the time, what we discerned was there was a missing gap, but people didn't know what it was. And at the time, when we were talking to companies about it, particularly large companies who we deal with, there was some skepticism, because what they couldn't get their mind around was how did profit align with purpose, and were they sort of trade-offs between each other. Zoom forward now to where we are years later. No one talks about the business case for purpose. What they're all asking now is how do we do it properly? And the reason is, for some, quite frankly, it's an epiphany and an escape route. They've always wanted to do the right thing, but felt they were against the tide. But others are now realizing that their employees are making choices. And as Graham said, the pandemic and flexible working's really exacerbated that. You've got consumers now saying, we want to make choices. We've got a huge generational shift in wealth transfer to the next generation, and they're looking more from their investments. And you've got investors who have now realized that unless you navigate your way through the social license to operate, your business becomes uncompetitive, starved of capital, and shoved to the side. So I think now we've got the perfect conditions. The pioneers now feel braver, and they're doing some really good things. The laggards are at least changing their corporate communications. And the people in the middle are starting to navigate to change from whether we should do this to how we should do it in a very authentic way. So this is here to stay. Be very clear, it's not the silver bullet, and not everyone's taking it, but the greater the pioneers prove is the way to attract the best people, it's the way to get greater innovation, it's a way to deal with investors who are discerning, then people will start to follow them. So I think this is here to stay. We just need to make sure it doesn't go backwards.
And Graham, where are the great examples of where purpose is really driven through an organization, and how does it feel and what does it look like?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think there are some good companies out there who have gone back to basics. What is it we do, and for who? Who are we here to serve? And I come back to Loughlin's, Blueprint for Better Business has a really nice language around who does your business serve? And it's an interesting shift. So there are plenty of organizations. I happen to did a piece of work for the social value portal that I'm involved with, and I spoke to 17 different heads of sustainability back in November last year, right in the middle of the pandemic. And all of them were talking about, forget all the peripheral stuff we do from a sustainability stuff, the stuff you can PR, frankly. What is it that we do? So I was talking to airlines who are going, why do people fly? They cannot fly. Why do they fly? What is the benefit to society of flying? Back to real core purpose, because actually they couldn't fly. at the time because of COVID restrictions. So it forced them to go. So airlines going really challenging. Why do we even exist? What is the social benefit of flying compared to the environmental case? I was talking to airports, saying we're here to major airports who had no traffic going into them, trying to work out how to support climate change beyond shutting down and not existing anymore. How do we price to encourage more environmentally friendly planes to come here? Pricing is the ultimate sanction and stimulant for a business. If you stand for something, price in line with your beliefs as a business. So I think that's happening a lot at the moment. There are organisations that just could not operate or were restricted, that having to go back to basics. So I think there's, and I think you're seeing some interesting shifts in the energy sector. There's a lot. You're seeing oil companies spending a huge amount of money on R&D, assuming that their core product will not exist anymore in the future. These are real market-changing assumptions.
And Loughlin, when companies come to you to ask for help around developing clarity around purpose, what are the challenges internally that they need to overcome as they go on that journey?
Well, the biggest challenge, quite frankly, is a mindset shift. Is these successful companies and successful people have been brought up in an environment through economics, through business school training, through management training, that there is one way to exist as a company, which is the more money you make, the more successful you are. What they are grappling with is the fundamental question that Graham touched on as well. Actually, where does the money come from and how do we create pockets of value? And increasingly, they're beginning to realize the success of business is determined by the strength of relationships that build the business, the strength of relationships with their employees. So they actually bring innovation to work because they care about success of the business and the meaningfulness of their work. Customers who actually want a reason other than price to discern where they buy. Suppliers who are actually deciding who they actually want to work with rather than they're forced to work with. Investors where they can put their money. And of course, this is the perfect time when there's almost shortage of everything that people need to attract beyond price. So the first challenge they have is to reset their mind that business is actually a series of relationships, not just an inanimate nexus of contracts that you script and you actually monitor. So that's the first thing. The second one is to get this relationship between profit and purpose right, that actually realizing that if purpose stimulates relationships that create value to care about the success of the company, profit should be a natural outcome. So yes, it's a measure of success, but it's not the reason for the existence. So once they get through that, and that is the really difficult thing, is to allow them to relearn what they instinctively feel, that they want to go home at night and actually say to their friends and family, I did something good today, not I just brought home a bigger paycheck. And that's what we're starting to see, where people are beginning to realize, and this is a lovely breakthrough, it's both and, not either or, is I can drive a successful company that generates profit so that we can grow responsibly, but I can do it by making a meaningful impact on the people I touch, both within the organization and around the organization. So that mindset shift, John, is the biggest. Well, once they're on the journey, it's amazing what they can achieve.
Graham, the reality is we have all three of us have many years of experience working either in or with blue chip multinationals. And the reality is over the last 20, 25 years, you have leaders in big companies that focus on something and decide this is the direction that we're going in and let's all go together and be happy and wonderful and everything will work out fine. And a lot of the time that will embed itself in the leadership team, the senior executive team of a business, so the management board, and then maybe down to the level below that. How do you drive the mindset change or the behavior change through an organization that is a massive, big, difficult to move beast, and drive it through effectively so that purpose and the vision that the leader has actually comes to life and delivers something to society?
Yeah, it's a really good question, particularly for big organizations where the founders of the business are not involved in running it anymore because it's been around for a long time. Or actually there's a big gap between who funds the business and who does the work, right, between the investor and the business. I think we're in this place where, business absolutely has to say, these are the things in the big wide world that we are going to put resources at. And I love Loughlin's term, everything is scarce right now. So where are we going to dedicate resources to? What are we going to anchor our business on that will change the world? And they need to throw all resources at that. And that the leadership team and the board it's their role to kind of guide the oil tanker. And the next bit is you have to prove the purpose. Otherwise it's just PR. How do you prove that what you are looking to change in the world, you can measure a tangible shift? And proof of purpose is quite difficult, but actually it's in all the places you operate your business. It's in your people's behavior. It's in what you produce as a product. And one of the biggest things that, frankly, I've seen companies have that don't dedicate to the big areas that they want to campaign for is their balance sheet. Companies have balance sheets. They've taken a bit of a hit because of COVID, because they've had to dig into their reserves. But all companies have money that's either shareholder fund or owner fund that's left over. And one of the biggest things that companies, and we did this at Legal & General, where I was the sustainability there for 10 years, is we put our balance sheet exactly in the places that our CEO and board said needed stimulating the economy: housing, health, and later life. Who'd have thought it? An insurance company owned a house builder. They bought Carla Homes, and they invested money in many, many different forms of the housing market, from social housing loans through to later life homes to social housing provision, direct building, direct action. So I think once you set your mission as an organization, this is what we stand for in the real world and how we're going to measure it, you then have to throw all your resources, the deepest resources you've got, your balance sheet is the ultimate test, to that and be judged on it. You have to go, here's our purpose, here's our proof of purpose, and here are the things we've actually done. And just finally, there's a big push, particularly from regulators at the moment, to prove your culture, right? Can you prove you have a good culture as a business, particularly for financial services? And it's very easy to show the positive decisions you've made as a business that trade off economics, society, and the environment. They're all trade-offs. You make one decision in favor of one area, and there is an unintentional consequence in the rest of the system. But one of the best things businesses can do is talk about the decisions that they went to make and they reversed out of or didn't make, and the reasons they didn't make them. Because those are the biggest indication of culture, the decisions you did not make or did not feel in line with your purpose, gives the outside world an indication of whether you're really true to purpose as an organization.
Just a quick message to the audience. Graham, I noticed that your signal is a little bit slow at times. You're in northern France. I'm in England. I'm not sure if it's Brexit related, but perhaps the signals are not cooperating as they used to. Anyway, we can hear you fine, which is great.
No worries.
Loughlin, coming back to you, because I know you spend time with business students in business schools, and you talk to them about purpose and mission-led business, etc., through Blueprint. Now, do you see a generational difference in how purpose is viewed with these students coming through business schools and the future leaders in the business world?
I do. Certainly in terms of their narrative, particularly around the environment. In fact, they want to do something more, particularly around doing something meaningful. But let's be very clear, that is the general narrative, and they're much more curious. But there's still a lot of them are choosing, for example, business school to get a better job. And the business schools themselves are still teaching the old skills. So it's really difficult for them to discern that actually what they're told is possible is truly mainstream, when the business schools are kind of mainstreaming, finance and decision making and the old case studies of hero leaders, trampling the world and being successful. So I think there is a greater thirst amongst the younger generation. But let's be clear, in every generation, there has been a desire, because we're humans, to do the right thing. It's just that the generations before did not think it was possible they could ask for it. And therefore we need to open that up. And one of the things you asked, Graham, which I come back to these barriers, is in order to make this a transformational change in business, everyone has to buy into it. It can't just be, and we've seen it so often, a visionary CEO and very hungry new people coming into the business full of ideals. If in the middle that they ignore the leadership and they trample the new. So this is really important, and that the middle management, to my mind, are the most underappreciated part of any business, because they have to manage up, they have to manage across, and they have to manage down. And the good news is they are human as well. So in order to make this work, they have to be given the time, the space, and the encouragement to do it, and everyone plays their part. So what I see is that everyone has a distinct role. The board has a role as the guardians of purpose. Why are we here? The executive team, not just the CEO, what they're there to do is allocate resources so that people can be the best they can be, and the company can be the best it can be. And in doing that, they encourage people, middle management through to frontline, through to new joiners, is to encourage them to ask for the resources so that the business can be the best it can be. And then to reach out to customers and suppliers, investors, to say, what is it you want for us to be the best we can be? Because purpose is all embracing. So if everyone takes their role, it works. And coming back to this point about the new generation, they will thrive if they come in with ideals and energy and purpose and meaning. And that is encouraged and watered and nurtured, rather than crushed and actually directed to do what they're damn well told. So if you get that all right, it does actually work, but it's got to go through the whole thing. And as Graham quite rightly said, if there's anyone who's skeptical, and there are, they need to look up and see the world is changing around them. The media, their children, their grandchildren, and also the regulators. As Graham said, the Financial Reporting Council, the Financial Conduct Authority, which regulates financial service, are spending a huge amount of time projecting out the need for purpose, for culture, and for proof. And that's the way it's going.
Graham, is clarity of purpose the start of the journey for a new business, or is it something that you have observed that emerges organically as the business grows and develops?
That's a really good question. So I think I'm hoping the Brexit satellite is aligned, John. Just before we answer that,
I think you're fine. Carry on.
No worries. Yeah, I think that the reality is there are some very big companies in the system that are trying to change their direction of travel because of the world we live in, and that's organisations finding their purpose or changing their purpose. But I first met Loughlin when we did the mission-led business review for UK government a few years ago. And at that time, the UK government was seeing a number of really simple businesses, very simple, just limited companies starting up, but the mission of the organization was absolute clarity from point of startup. We are going to fix this with our business in the world, and here's how we're going to measure one or two things to show we've done it. And I guess that carries through. I work with Goscom Homes with Alistair and the team there. We spent a lot of time. We had the business model, which is built around Tom's shoes, a one-for-one model. We sell one house, and we enable someone to access the housing market that couldn't, with the money and the margin from that other house that we've just sold. But actually, we're absolutely clear, and as a board, we are going to provide 5,000 sets of house keys over the next 10 years to people that cannot access the housing market. That is the debate in the board. And once you set that anchor point, you have to make sure it's still relevant, the purpose. Actually, is it still okay? Is that still the right purpose for the business? But it then enables you to go, when you have to make difficult decisions that trade off environment, society, or economics, the debate always comes back to, how is this action going to get us to handing over that set of house keys quicker to 5,000 people? So purpose drives the rest of it. But with purpose, you have to constantly make sure that what you're aiming to change in the world is still relevant.
And I'm very interested in the Goscom Homes model, Graham. So could you just, for the audience, give a little bit of a snapshot for what it's all about? We've sort of got a glimpse there of the purpose and the mission, but just to help people understand the hyper-local nature of it and the likely impact in that part of the world for such a clear focus, with such a clear focus and with a very, very clear purpose.
Yeah, so Goscom Homes is down in Sussex in the UK. A few reasons, actually. One is because the founder of Goscom, Alistair Wicks, lives in Eastbourne, and there's a hidden homelessness problem in Eastbourne that he discovered through just walking around his local town, and this is not right. We're in the south of the UK. He also then realised that the southeast of the UK massively overheated in terms of housing market, but there are some big hidden housing problems. So he wanted to challenge that with a business model. There is a different need for housing in the south of the UK. So he'd also seen the Tom Shoes model, which forced thinking around the economics. Can we come up with a housing model where we sell a house, a really good quality house, but then that transaction enables someone else who cannot get onto the housing market to have a home. And then we started talking, so we set a target, 5,000 sets of keys handed over to people that could not get onto the housing market became the mission. But then we looked at the hyper-locality of housing market. We want houses in real places that local people have worked on, local people have trained on to build those houses. The skills are local, the supply chain is local, the financing is local. And our ultimate aim actually is to have a person living in one of our Goscom homes that has probably been helped to build it in their local area. And actually, from an environmental perspective, why have we got labour moving all over the place? I used to drive on the M25 every now and again. I used to see, construction workers' vans moving from Thurrock to Sussex and Sussex to Thurrock to build houses. It's not good for the environment to have labour move around. Why are we not building local houses in local places? So our model in Eastbourne through Goscom is to have housing supply for local people in Eastbourne, built by local people, local supply chain, locally designed. And we also have every house that we create will fund Trellis, which is a charitable foundation that sits on the side of the business, that then enables the people that take up the keys in the house to have a more fulfilled life.
Loughlin, as an objective observer of the Goscom model, so to speak, what are your thoughts on it? And is it a template that could be lifted and shifted to elsewhere in the UK?
I think it's a great model because what it combines are two things: is growing social capital as well as growing financial capital, and then they're interdependent. And by social capital, I don't mean doing something in the local community, but actually making it sustainable through raising the pride of people in the place they're living and allowing them to stay in that place. Because what destroys many communities, we've seen it here in Ireland, is people having to leave their county, their village, their country to have a better living, and then survive by sending remittances back. By actually creating pride in place, so pride in the house, in this case in Goscom, that you're about to live in, pride that actually this is the place where you want to live, and pride that you've been lifted up to contribute. So I think it's a wonderful hyper model. And I think the environmental practicalities, and also the other thing which I think is a feature of Goscom, that if you build locally, and particularly if you pre-build, it's much easier to teach people trades when they're not in the pouring rain or they're just going to night school. You can actually train them because the weather no longer becomes a major determinant of the quality and meaningfulness of the work and the speed and accuracy and quality of the build. So all of those things are built in, but the lovely thing is it's not ignoring financial capital. It's saying we have to create value, and we want to be able to then participate in that value and direct some towards what we want. So this is not, do-gooding and making money on the side. It's actually integrating the two. And that integration is absolutely liftable. No matter what business you're in, you have two responsibilities as bringing people together as a business. The first is what you have to realize is you are part of the development and maturity of the people in your business. So you're the next learning curve for people as they mature and grow. And what you're growing are not just people, but you're growing citizens who then go back into the local community. And you can see when people in local communities care about their community. In Cloyne, where I am at the moment, the Tidy Towns competition started to uplift. I now see flowers, I now see roundabouts cleared. That sense of pride, and it really is sustained when there's employment as well, so that people don't have to travel away, is they live and work where they can. I think for all employers, particularly for people in your alliance, is thinking about this building social capital. And social capital includes the working environment, people feeling safe and meaningful at work, and then being encouraged to be citizens in their place, as well as creating financial capital, which they need to be sustained. So I think Goscom is a great example of blending social capital, financial capital, and making them interdependent.
And actually, John, there's just a point that there was a term that we coined in the mission-led business review when I worked with Loughlin, and it was called margin for mission. And it is so important because there are two responsibilities for any organisation, whether you're charitable or you're a PLC. It is to generate margin. You need to bring in more than you spent, so that there is money left over at the end of the financial year. And you also need to have a very clear mission. And the purpose of the excess is to put back into the mission. So it's a great term. The UK has 17 or 18 different governance structures for organizations, whether you're a charity, a KIC, a B corporation, but actually all of them have in common margin. If you are spending more than you have, then you have a negative margin. You cannot continue your mission. So margin for mission, being very clear on how you're going to make money and its purpose is really, really important for business right now.
Well, picking up on the Goscom story, Graham, I'm very curious to understand how it's all coming together, because what you're describing makes perfect sense, and it is a new way of operating, and it will involve multiple groups of stakeholders. Are you
Yeah.
pleased with the progress and how people are coming together? Are you pleased with the buy-in that you're getting from the different important stakeholders? What have the challenges been, and where do you think it's all going?
Yeah, really good question. So whenever you do anything new, you get people that love the mission. When you've got a clear mission, it's very easy to open doors. Hi, we're from Goscom. We're here to provide 5,000 people struggling to get onto the housing market with a set of keys. And the people that are motivated towards being part of something go, great, how can we help? And we've seen that. So we have a manufacturing partner, so Goscom Homes, based up in the Midlands, have said, right, we're gonna work with you, and we're gonna help you build a factory exactly where you want it in the southeast. We're gonna transfer our skills, our existing capacity in a place that is important to you. And actually, we thought the southeast, frankly, had the housing market sewn up. You know, it seems to be very successful. But you've shown us that there are some market housing failures in the southeast, and we want to be part of that. There are organisations that go, yeah, but how do you? Surely you just build a house, you sell it. That's how you make quick margin in the housing business. How you're looking to hold on to those houses for a long period of time. So the investment industry, in our experience, has a very short-term model to fund housing providers, and an ownership model, which is, okay, you're an RSL, you're a housing provider. We know how to finance those with long-term finance, and we know how to finance short-term housing providers, but you're doing both. So it's a challenge for the finance industry to understand, we're going to hand a set of house keys over and look after the person in that house for the next 10, 15 years. So for funders, we've had to do a lot of work to explain how this new model of financing enables them. We are looking for long-term investment, short-term ones, not medium-term ones, long-term ones. I think the mission is absolutely the thing that opens the door. You know, and very quickly find out if people come and talk to us about mission, and if they're not lined up with it, it becomes very apparent quite quickly. So you don't waste time with a clear mission. They go, actually, that's not really what we do. We thought it was this, it's that. So partners kind of peel away, but other ones get attracted to what we do very, very quickly. It's like a magnet. Strong mission is like a magnet.
Loughlin, I'm conscious of our time, and one more question for both of you. What advice do you have for business owners when it comes to really getting clarity around purpose?
Well, I think it's, and the Alistair story is a very good one. It's actually asking themselves, let me start thinking about purpose as a human rather than the businessman first. So what is it that I care about? What skills do I have that I can bring to bear to make a difference? How can I bring others along with me? So it's starting with, we do it with some people, what do I really care about? And also, what makes me angry? Because caring and anger generally bring you to say, I want to do something about this. And it's got to be that sense of drive that I really do care about this. And now I know I've got skills and resources. How do I deploy them? And also, and I love Graham's word, the magnet. How do I create the magnet that other people want to come along and help me do that? Where business people go wrong is they put their humanity in a cupboard and pretend to be this hard-nosed business person. And that's what will attract people, because that's success. But that will obscure them to where they can add most value. So we always say, look, start with being human. What do you care about? What do your children care about? What do your grandchildren care about? What are you passionate about? Now, if you want to do something about it, now use all of your business skills to make it happen. And that's the way we will go around it.
Same question to you, Graham.
Yeah, really, really good one. I'm working with a big financial institution at the moment about they're trying to come up with their ESG strategy, because they think they need one. and they haven't got many pressure points telling them what they need to do. I've been interviewing the boards, and I say, let's forget about work. As a human being, whether it's over the past 6 months because of COVID or things that have happened in your life, forget work. What inequality gets your goat? What inequality in the world makes you go, that really, really needs fixing? And they open up quite quickly, and you can do that with a board, an individual, a whole organization. You know, if you employ people, why don't you ask them what's going on in the world that feels very unequal at the moment that needs fixing? And then my second question for the board members is, okay, how much of your working life do you actually spend fixing that thing that's really important to in here? And normally the number is between 10 and 20%. And I genuinely think that if you can get what is important to people overlapping with where they're spending their working time, you can do some magical things with purpose. If you can't prove this yet, but I think that creates stress in people. If their heart is saying, this is going on in the world and needs fixing, but I'm not spending all the time I have to fix it, I think that creates stress in people. And it comes out as frustration. So I think for me, line up what is important to you as an individual with where you work, and magic happens.
I think that's a good place to finish, Graham. Thank you for that. Loughlin, thank you also for your inputs, and thank you both for joining us today and for your insights. Much to ponder for all the business owners out there. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been A Bit of Business. My name is John FitzGerald. Thank you all so much for watching. All the best for now.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.